Everyone look at my t-shirt. Anyways, I'm filming my first sit-down video in front of the new and improved book wall, but this is probably the most excited I've ever been for a trope recommendation video because it's one of my all-time favorite tropes, and I love all the books I'm about to talk about so much, and a lot of them are new that I've never ever before mentioned on my channel. Good boy, bad girl. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm not gonna title it that because that's not true. It's just like soft boy trope. In all of these books, the boy is like the super innocent, inexperienced, and quiet and shy and adorable. One of my favorite tropes ever. In some of them it's like good boy bad girl, but a lot of them I literally have been binging books like this, and that's why I'm filming this video because I have so many to talk about, and I'm just gonna like grab them. They're like behind me as I go. I kind of like tried to put them together, but hopefully my stacks still fall. This is like the test. I'm gonna start off with a darker romance that I loved. It's Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. This book is dark, and look up the trigger warnings. So basically this girl Sydney and her neighbor Gabe, they grew up together and they still live in like the houses next door to each other, but when they were kids, Gabe's brother Oliver went missing while they were all playing together, and they grew up being like the best of friends. Gabe and Sydney have like remained living next to each other and are kind of just like inseparable best friends, like platonic. One day Gabe calls Sydney and is like, they found Oliver. He'd been missing for 22 years. You slowly find out what was happening to him while he was in captivity, and first he's super shy, obviously as to be expected. He's been like held hostage for 22 years, but he does feel comfortable with Sydney and they form like a really cute friendship, and like Sydney's trying to remind him of how they grew up together and he doesn't really have a lot of good memories of it, and it's the romance between Oliver and Sydney. I really enjoyed this book, but it definitely has like a lot of darker themes than the other books I'm gonna be talking about, but I feel like that made it feel a lot more like deep to me, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that Oliver was like so adorable, and like the more I got to know him, the more I loved him, and it was so cute because Oliver obviously has like this whole damaged past, and Sydney's trying to keep him protected and like not hurt him more than he's already been hurt, and they just care about each other so much. There's a plot twist in this book like that I did not expect, and kind of like a little mystery aspect of like why what happened to him happened. It was really good. I'm just gonna put them, the ones I talk about, like down here for now. These next two books are actually what's inspired this entire like obsession with the trope, and you need to read them immediately if you have similar taste to me. Before I actually get into the description, I'm so sad. I ordered these books on Amazon. Never does it rain in Arizona, but of course the one day my package gets delivered, it's during a monsoon where it's pouring rain, and I go outside to get my package and my books are completely drenched. But listen, the water damage. The pages are all like crusty. That doesn't take away from how fantastic these books are. So this is Falling for Temptation by MJ Hendricks. It's the first book in the Good Old Boy series. There's these 4 boys who grew up on a farm in a really religious family, and they're so sheltered. They've never gone to public school. They've never done anything. They're literally just raised to like go to church and like work on the farm. They somehow convince their parents to let the 4 of them go to university, like live there. So I think each of the boys is gonna get a book, and there's 2 out so far, so I'm gonna talk about these because they were so good. So the first book is about Adam. The first like few days he like runs into this girl, or he has a class with her or something, and she's covered in tattoos. She's like the stereotypical like bad girl and just like everything he's not used to, but he like immediately feels like this weird like connection between them, and she kind of thinks he's cute, but like in the way where you're just like, oh, he's so cute and adorable, not in like I want to date him. And then Harley's roommate actually ends up inviting the boys to like a party or something, and so they all end up hanging out, and she like notices the effect she has on Adam, and he's so like socially awkward, like doesn't know how to act around her because he's like never been around a girl that he's not related to like ever in his life. It was like kind of an insta love in a way. They were both immediately like drawn to each other, but there is such a build-up in here because it's like back and forth. She kind of has like a troubled past that hasn't gotten resolved, and she doesn't want to involve him in it. Oh my god, the build-up of their relationship though, and just like he is so innocent. It was one of those books where like by the time they were together at like 80% in, I was like, okay, I'm over it, but the first 80% I was like phenomenal, and then I thought it wasn't gonna get better, but I immediately read the second book, which is Seeing Double, and these are all interconnected standalones, so technically you can read them separate, but there's only 2 books out, so you should just read them both. This book I was so looking forward to because they teased it in the first one, and it's Adam's best friend, but an even more shy, even more quiet, and even more like nerdy, awkward boy, but he's described as being like so attractive, like so tall and so muscular, but he's like so awkward, and I was like, I love him. Harley from the first book's roommate is the girl love interest, and she's like the most upbeat, happy, outgoing, popular girl, and she's had a crush on Levi for like the entire year that she's known him, but he has no idea because he's so oblivious, doesn't know how to make a move, whatever. And then it has that trope where like they start talking online, not realizing it's each other, as they also know each other in real life. I just really recommend this series, and I'm so looking forward to the rest of the books in this series. I don't know when they're coming out, but hopefully soon. Okay, then is The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. I didn't realize that this was an interconnected standalone series with The Kiss Potion. I knew it was by the same author, but I didn't realize the characters' names would be mentioned. I got so excited when that happened. This book has been on my TBR forever. I'm so happy I finally read it. I feel like the beginning was pretty slow for me, but once I got like 40% in, I really enjoyed it. She lives in Vietnam, and one day this like really rich woman comes up to her and is like, do you want to live in America? And she's like, not really. She's like, I really want to find a wife for my son. He has no idea I'm doing this, but would you come back to America with me? They're from Vietnam, but they moved to America. And she's like, are you crazy? That is literally the most insane idea I've ever heard. No. And then she goes home and tells her mom and grandma and is like, this woman said this to me. And her mom and grandma are like, you need to go. This is such a good opportunity. Like, they're paying for your housing and giving you a job. Like, you should just go see it. If anything, it's like a vacation to America if nothing happens. And she's like, true, I do want to go on vacation to America. So she goes and she shows up, and then the boy, Kai, is like, what are you doing here? Why are you in my house? And she has to explain, like, the mom set me up. And Kai is super like into his work, kind of reserved, very serious. Sorry, my air conditioning just turned on and I can't turn it off, but she's drawn to him, and you can tell he's drawn to her. But you learn that Kai basically feels like he has no emotions, no feeling. Like, his best friend slash cousin passed away, and he's like, I don't feel anything. I know I miss him, but I don't feel anything. And then as the book progresses, you find out that Kai actually has autism, and it's their relationship. It's very back and forth because Kai is like uncertain about his emotions, and he just feels like he doesn't feel anything. And it's basically him discovering that he can feel emotions like grief and love, and coming to terms with that. And then she doesn't really understand it, and she's getting frustrated because she knows she loves him. And I enjoyed it. The beginning was like kind of slow, like I said, but I thought it was good, and I would recommend it still. I feel like I just did a really bad job at like selling this book. It sounds crazy when you don't get the full details, but when you get the full details, you understand. You can't do a soft boy trope without the blueprint, the best soft boy trope of all time, and it's Archer's Voice. I feel like if you watch my channel, you've already read this, and if not, read it now. It's one of my favorite books ever. Basically, Bree moves to a small town, so it's a small town romance too. She runs into this boy, and then he just like walks away and doesn't say anything. And she's like, that's kind of weird, like, why didn't he say anything? And then she starts asking the town about him, and they're all like, oh, he's so weird, like, don't talk to him, like, he doesn't speak to anyone. He's basically like the town reject, and everyone thinks he's like a psychopath. She's like, I'll be the judge of that. And she's immediately intrigued by him, and they keep having like these little interactions. She finds out that he actually doesn't speak, and he uses sign language. She happens to know sign language. She's like the only person that he can really speak to, and they form like such a cute friendship. The tension between them is so strong. He's so pure. Like, I need an Archer Hale in my life. Like, he is my dream man. He's just like devoted to her in a way like I never have really read about. He has like a dark history that you find out about, what happened to him, why everyone thinks of him so negatively. Love this book so much. And then Mia Sheridan has another trope like this. She also wrote Most of All You, which is the same kind of vibe. Like, if you liked Archer's Voice, I think you would like this one. I don't like this one as much, but I still really enjoyed it. This book really reminds me of Lotus because the main boy, Gabriel, was also kidnapped and escaped, and he's dealing with the repercussions and the trauma of everything that happened to him. He really struggles with intimacy and like touch from other people, and he's trying to get over it, so he ends up going to a strip club. And this is where he meets Crystal. She works at the strip club, and he asks her, can you please like do a private room with me? He's like, I don't want this in like a sexual way, like, I just need help. He can tell something is going on with her. There is something going on in her life. Like, she is definitely going through something, and he notices it right away because he feels like a connection between them where he's like, I feel like she could relate to me. And then one day she gets into a really scary situation, and he ends up finding her and saving her and helping her, and she ends up having to move in with him after this situation. Crystal is super guarded. She has a lot of secrets, and she like doesn't believe in love. And then Gabriel is like the most soft-hearted, but he's struggling from obviously his trauma. And this book is a little bit darker too. There's sexual assault, so trigger warning. I feel like this was like two people that went through so much trauma helping each other so much, and I thought it was really good. If you want like a more sad version of this trope, then this one would be good for you. Okay, this one's a little bit different. It's Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. This is YA, I think. It felt like way more immature than anything I've ever read, but if you are younger or you like YA better, you should pick up this one. It's super lighthearted and so adorable. So it's academic rivals and like super soft and cute boy. Rowan and Neil have been like academic rivals like since their freshman year of high school. They go back and forth like who's gonna get a better grade on this test. They like text each other like all these arguments about school. They're basically just each other's biggest rivals, but they're like obsessed with each other low-key, and like all their friends are like, why are you guys so obsessed with competing with each other? Like it's not that serious. And then their senior year comes around and they're competing for who's gonna be valedictorian, and at the same time all the seniors are playing like this game, kind of like Assassin. I don't really know what it's called, but they end up pairing up to play this game because they're both so competitive and they know they're like the two best options for teammates. You see them go from like rivals to kind of teammates. This book like all takes place over the span of like 2 days. It's just like them realizing they like each other, and it's very wholesome, and he's definitely a softie on the inside despite trying to argue with her all the time. Okay, the next book I don't have a physical copy of. I read it like when I was in high school and I can't remember a lot of it, but I remember this is like the first book I read of this trope and I was like, oh, so good. Actually, that's a lie. The first book I read of this trope was on Wattpad, and it was a Harry Styles fanfic when I was in like 7th grade, like way too young to be reading it. And I remember it was this trope. He was like a nerd and they were partners for a school project. Something awoke inside of me when I read that. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, and it's called The Guy on the Right. All I remember though is that the girl was really popular, the guy was not. It was in college. Everyone thought he couldn't get with her. I just remembered everyone thought he couldn't get with her because the guy's roommate, who was like the star quarterback and like really hot, also had a crush on her. So everyone was like, oh, she's totally gonna choose the hot one over him. He's a loser. And he was like in the band or something. I don't even know. But she chose him. She chose the underdog gets the girl. Classic. That's all I remember. So don't know why I included it, but I felt like it deserved to be in the video. Maybe I'll reread it one day. Okay, then I have People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This one's like less like innocent soft boy than the other ones, but I still feel like Alex really fits like the soft boy trope. It is friends to estranged to lovers. They're like kind of opposites. She's kind of like crazy and fun, and he's very reserved and quiet. They used to be really, really close friends in college, and then something happens between them and you don't know what, and it's told in past and present perspective. You're kind of watching their romance like start budding from a friendship in the past perspective, and then in the present perspective you're watching them reunite for the first time. They're going to a wedding and they have to share a hotel room. It has the one bed trope, and like what inspired this, they used to go on a vacation like every year, I'm pretty sure, and then this is like 2 years after they stopped talking. They're like, okay, let's make this like a vacation like we used to go on, and he like agrees, and obviously they're like in love, like duh, but rekindling, and then you find out what actually happened between them and what they're trying to work through. Okay, then is the book Dare You to Hate Me. I didn't love this book, but I rated it a 3.5 because I feel like other people would love it. I think it wasn't for me personally. I just didn't feel connected to it. I don't know if it was like the time I read it or whatever, but I feel like a lot of you guys would like it, you know, and I know a lot of people I follow love this book, so I feel like I should still recommend it. It's childhood friends to estranged to lovers again, but this one, he's on the football team, he's super popular, but he's also kind of been like just down bad and in love with this girl, and she ran away and he hasn't seen her since, and then they end up at the same college and they reunite and they start kind of like talking again, even though he's like on the football team and like has this whole exterior, like no, just he's a soft boy. But I didn't like the girl character in this book at all. I don't know why, I just could not stand her, and I usually am like the biggest advocate for like the girls in books can never do anything wrong, and I never complain about them because I will defend the heroine in books till the death. But this girl, she got on my last nerve for some reason. Like I actually physically could not read it because she was so frustrating. It was so back and forth and like not explaining herself. I don't even know, but definitely frustrating. And the last book I'm going to be talking about in this video, I don't have a physical copy of because I also read this one in high school, and I think I read it right after I read The Guy on the Right. I remember Googling this trope back in the day and there was like no trope recommendations, and I had to go through someone's Goodreads library to find this, and it's Lost and Found by Nicole Williams. It is the epitome of this trope. Basically this girl Rowan is just a bad girl. Like she parties, she goes out, boys, and her parents are like over it, and they're like, we're sending you to our family friend's farm to go fix yourself, and you can't come back until you get your shit together and are ready and can show to us that you're ready to go to college or art school or something. She's so not about it, obviously. She's like, I don't want to get sent to a farm, are you kidding me? And then she shows up and there's this boy there, and he's the most beautiful specimen she's ever seen in her life, and he's wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, and she's like, what the hell? He's the family friend's son, and he is very wholesome, southern charm cowboy. Him and Rowan start talking. He realizes she's like misunderstood. This is reverse Grumpy Sunshine for sure. And like Rowan's in denial that they'll ever like work out, and she's like, I don't want to corrupt him and ruin our relationship with the family and whatever. So she tries to fight it, but we all know how that goes. Yeah, I remember it being really good. I honestly kind of want to reread it now that I'm talking about it, but yeah. That is the last book I'm going to be talking about in today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some good recommendations. This was probably like my favorite recommendation I've ever done, so I hope you liked it. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, they're all linked down below as always. If there are any other specific trope videos you want to see from me, I'm starting to do them again and I'm having a lot of fun, so you can leave that in the comments. If you have any recommendations for this trope that you think I'd like, I'm begging you on my knees to leave them in the comments. But with all that being said, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in my next one very, very soon. Bye!